The rustier the machines and the more noise they make, the better. After all, the first antiques are the ones that dug and built the ground we walk on today. Join us as we explore some old heavy machinery. Sit tight because some of these are absolutely mesmerizing. Number 10, the 1969 Caterpillar 977 K-Track Loader. This machine was engineered to complete excellence, making it one of the best in the market. With a powerful D333 turbocharged 6-cylinder engine that produces 170 horsepower, this thing truly redefined the standard and performance in the era. The oil-cooled clutches and brakes make the whole thing much more durable, along with giving it the perfect squeaky noise that isn't too loud or too quiet. Just perfect. Standard machine functions like an electric start and pedal steer system help operators easily maneuver the 977 in tight spaces. The walk-through operator's compartment is also a pretty special feature of the 46H unit and lets the person driving it have unrestricted access to the controls. Did you know that in 1971, Caterpillar replaced the 977K with a 977L? The new model had more horsepower, a rollover protection system, and much more. But the real fans out there preferred the 977K because of its timeless design, reliability, and versatility. There have been over 22,000 units made of this beauty, and it played a significant role in shaping the modern construction industry into what it is today. Like many antiques, this one contributed to many infrastructure projects all around the world. Truly, the 977K track loader does its job with a powerful engine, advanced transmission, and operator-friendly features. Some lucky people still own one today, and if you check out the sound it makes upon ignition or operation, you'll be amazed at how it still does what it does after 50 years. Number 9, 1920s Caterpillar 66 Pull Grader. Following up with another big cat, we have the 66 Pull Grader straight from the 1920s, and yes, it's still functional. Believe it or not, these rusty machines could probably knock some of the modern equipment out of the park after a whole century. Pulled by a crawler tractor, this grader was Caterpillar's largest model at the time and played a huge role in the upkeep of country roads across the great land of the United States. Unlike the modern motor graders we have today, the 66 needs two operators to function effectively. One drives it while the other operates the grader itself. The dual setup was necessary because of the size and complexity of the machinery involved back in the day. Remember, this was the time when cars used to look like chariots, so it was a huge achievement. Besides, the combined length of both the tractor and grader was a problem when trying to handle it in tight spaces. Some machines today still face the same issue, so imagine the nightmare back in when things were in black and white. Equipped with a Ward single-cylinder gas engine, the 66 grader made sure to make the Caterpillar brand shine as bright as it does today. You might think that the power source is very simple and inefficient, but lo and behold, it managed to handle grading tasks like it was nothing. One of the fascinating things about the 66 was its 12-foot wide blade fitted with a smooth bolt-on cutting edge. This blade made it easier to cover larger areas when grading, making sure that road surfaces were smooth and even for both man and machine. If the person operating it was skilled enough, the things it could do were beyond the human imagination then. But unlike other machinery, Caterpillar realized that there was a need for more efficient and user-friendly grading equipment. So in the 1930s, the company introduced the Auto Patrol motor grader. This revolutionized construction equipment because this time only one operator was needed to use it. Sorry, but a lot of people lost their jobs because of this. It also transitioned to diesel-powered motor graders in the late 1930s, which was another achievement for engineers all over the world. The Caterpillar 212 Auto Patrol motor grader made sure that people were living in a new era of innovation. It offered more power and efficiency as compared to older models like the 66. Number 8, 1912 Cletric W1220. One of the most shocking things about the W1220 was not its futuristic features at the time, but the cost. At just $1,385, it offered a very efficient alternative to tractors of its time. The Cletrac proved to be much better than the big brands of the 1910s like the Fordson. A controlled differential steering mechanism was probably the innovation of the decade, patented by Ronald White himself. This, coupled with a planetary gear system, delivered power to both tracks even during turns, making sure there were no problems when on the road. This was called the True Traction system, and it set a new standard for crawler tractors of that era. The W1220 was also one of the first tractors to have an air cleaner system and roller bearings. This not only extended the engine's life, but also improved performance by a mile. It also used manganese for its tracks, which was a huge difference because tractors at the time used conventional cast iron tracks. Since weight was what White always considered when designing the Cletrac, he made sure that the manganese material would reduce the weight of the overall tractor. He wanted the advantages of a crawler to be put in a tractor, and with the help of the Cleveland Tractor Company, all of that was possible. Another really cool thing about the W1220 is the fact that it had minimal soil compaction, which would often cause huge problems in the compaction on crop yields. As far as crops go, cultivation was made 100 times more efficient when the Model F was designed. This had a top drive sprocket and adjustable tracks, which helped farmers with diverse lands to work on. What's crazy is that the White family started off as a sewing machine industry and ended up revolutionizing crawler tractors. The landscape of agriculture changed for the better because without the 1220, Model F, or other models of that era like the W1250, we wouldn't have the modern tractors and crawlers we see today. Number 7, 1926 Holt Caterpillar 2-ton. For antique collectors around the world, the 2-ton is an extremely rare piece, which is what caught the attention of a vintage collector in Iowa. To Charlie Wilkinson, it was the combination of both heritage and innovation that captivated him, which is exactly what the Holt 2-ton stands for: rarity, revolutionary, and historical. When bought at an auction in 2005, the tractor was beyond repair, but with a little love and devotion, an enthusiast like Charlie managed to fit the pieces back together. Now, this isn't the story about what a man from Iowa did with an old tractor from 1926. It's about what the machine was and is capable of at that time. Some of the special features of this thing were its overhead camshaft engine and oil-cooked steering, which was a huge deal back in the 1920s. Combining those components with a gas engine that has 4 cylinders gave the 2-ton the ability to deliver a very impressive drawbar horsepower of 19. Doesn't sound like much, but advancements like that from a century ago were a huge deal for Caterpillar as a rising construction brand. Even though it looks small, this thing weighs over 4,000 pounds. This is all thanks to the special material used for the tracks, which was the only convenient thing to use at the time. You can't expect a lightweight tractor in an era right after the First World War, can you? Number 6, 1971 Allis-Chalmers HD41. Meet the Allis-Chalmers HD41 bulldozer. This has proven to be a true titan of the construction world that's about as legendary as they come. The reason this was such a mammoth in the 70s was because of the beastly 524 horsepower Cummins turbocharged V12 engine. This packed a serious punch with its 1,710 cubic inches of raw power. This bad boy wasn't just big, it was massively colossal and measured more than 20 feet in length, 11 feet in width, and 13 feet in height. You could spot this thing miles away. With an 11.5 foot wide push blade and a whipping 22 foot grading blade, the HD41 was more than just its huge size. It was about getting the job done right. And truth be told, it managed to do it every single time, shaping landscapes, moving huge piles of dirt, or even stuff that no other machine could carry. This bulldozer was up for any challenge. The Mammoth by Allis-Chalmers was a king in the 70s and serves as a reminder of its historical impact in the construction world. Crews and operators could only rely on a machine this big to get the job done, and if you saw what the HD41 is capable of today, you'd be amazed to witness its sheer power. You definitely can't talk about heavy machinery without mentioning this beast. In fact, it's considered to be the world's biggest bulldozer. Frank named his prized collection Big Roy, a very fitting name for a machinery of this size. Number 5, 1940 Caterpillar D6. The D6 track type tractor was fresh out of the oven and ready to do anything you threw its way. It quickly became the go-to for both agriculture and construction and was considered to be a medium-sized bulldozer with just the right blend of muscle and maneuverability. The D6 comes with different blades for different tasks. You've got your straight blade, which is perfect for precision grading with its short length and simple design. You also have your universal blade, which is comparatively taller, curvier, and has those big wings to scoop up more dirt. In other words, the universal blade is the heavy lifter of the bunch. The combo blade, on the other hand, offers both scooping and lifting. How convenient! Drawbars and a cable control unit can also be installed for towing scrapers or trailed gear. The ripper's there to support tough terrain or to break up rock-hard soil. Imagine all these accessories available in the 40s. A farmer's dream come true. Now, the D6 isn't just features and gadgets. It's got some real power to it, even if it's not that big of a machine. It can handle steep slopes like a walk in the park, bulldoze through dense forests, and even fill pipelines without breaking a sweat. With the low ground pressure version, it also lets you plow through muddy terrain without sinking. No need to worry about your hands getting dirty because this mini beast will do all those messy jobs for you. In case you're wondering what engine is under the hood, you'll find either a Caterpillar 7.7 liter or an 8.6 liter 6-cylinder diesel engine that does more than what's bargained for. There's also a 5-speed gear transmission for you to run smoothly at around 5.8 miles per hour. Unlike many antiques, the D6 has been upgraded every now and then just so it can keep up with the times without losing its vintage charm. With each new version, Caterpillar fine-tuned its performance, added a few more features, and made sure that the ride was as comfortable as possible for the operator. Believe it or not, this thing is still going strong to this day. Number 3, 1950s Oliver O3. This vintage workhorse that shaped agriculture made its way to the market in the post-war era of the 1950s in North America. This was the perfect time for something like this to pop up on sale because neighborhoods were just settling in the great nation after the Second World War. It was time to turn those barren lots into gorgeous green lawns. Manufactured by Oliver in Cleveland, Ohio from 1951 to 1957, the OC3 was more than just a regular tractor. It was a machine that had that good old-fashioned American craftsmanship in it and helped families all over the country. Plus, it's powered by something called the Hercules engine. You just know a tractor with an engine named after the Roman equivalent of a divine Greek hero was about worth the price. With this 2.2 liter 4-cylinder gasoline engine, it gave the OP 329 horsepower at 1700 rounds per minute. If you needed to plow some fields, clear land, or even haul heavy loads, this machine got the job done in the blink of an eye. To top it all off, its fuel tank was 12 gallons. It measured up to 8.3 feet in length, 4.36 feet in width, and just 4.19 feet in height. You probably know what that means. Easily driven and made it past tight gap and rough terrain in ease. The hydraulic front blade and rear box blade just added to what the OC3 had to offer. These two features improved control, especially with the hydraulic systems that provide the capability to maneuver these blades. Operators would get less tired because there was no less physical effort to manage the system manually on the job site. Speaking of job sites, the OC3 wasn't limited to just farmlands. It quickly made its way to all construction sites across the country and was able to do more than just one job. It proved its worth every single time and earned a reputation as a go-to machine both for operators and dealers. As for the history of this antique, well, the Cleveland Tractor Company, or as you might remember earlier as Cleatrac, made the OC3 work well and hit the market as it did. Number 2, John Frulich Tractor. Back in 1892 in a village of northeast Iowa, John Frulich changed the face of agriculture forever. He introduced the first ever successful gasoline-powered engine, capable of moving forward and backward. Today you'd call it a tractor. Before these machines were on everyone's property, farming required manual labor, and steam-powered engines were a necessity in the agricultural landscape. But these engines were bulky and heavy, and would often cause forest fires because you couldn't really handle them as easily as the machines you handle today. Frulich thought that it was time for a solution and time for change. This didn't have a fancy name like Caterpillar or anything as such. Instead, it was called the Frulich Tractor. This had a 1-cylinder engine installed onto the running gear of a steam engine. He basically added the two power sources into one, but truth be told, this was much easier to control than any of the fire hazards people had to use back in the 19th century. The specs of this thing are nothing compared to the machinery we have today. It's almost as if we're talking about a little baby right now. But let's consider this as the father of tractors. So when Frulich went to South Dakota to put his invention to the test, he succeeded with flying colors and managed to thresh around 72,000 bushels of small grain. The definition and concept of farming were about to change forever. Despite its successful test run, Frulich found trouble selling the actual thing. Once the Waterloo Gasoline Traction Engine Company greenlit his invention, only 2 units were sold. It wasn't until 1913 that the company introduced the LA model of the Frulich tractor after years of developing gas engines. It looked like the world wasn't ready for something as complicated as a tractor, but they had the jackpot just a year later with the Waterloo Boy Tractor N. This thing weighed 6,000 pounds, which is pretty long as compared to the other machines you've seen in this video. Its width is around 5.97 feet and is 5.24 feet tall. It came with its own Waterloo Gasoline Engine Company 7.6-liter 2-cylinder kerosene unit. A 20-gallon fuel tank with an unsynchronized gear transmission and a forced start crank was the new future back in the early 20th century. Number 1, 1960. 295 Pace Scraper. Technical advancements peaked in the early 1960s, made its grand entrance. Not only did it replace its previous models like the 2T75, but it changed the game with its design and powerful performance by a landslide. In 1962, the International Harvester revealed this remarkable thing with a brand new IH model DT817T engine under its hood. This 6-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine was a complete reset to the construction business. It pumped out an impressive 375 horsepower and came with an Allison 4-speed power shift transmission. The top speed, 26 miles per hour. As if that isn't mind-blowing already, the 295 had a fixed kingpin that joined the tractor and scraper section sprinkled with a ring gear at its base. 2 hydraulic steering cylinder, cut with teeth cut into their extended spears, worked to turn the machine around 90 degrees both left and right. Obviously, something so new and complicated faced a few challenges at first. Steering would get frequent wear and tear issues, so the company came forth with a revised model called the 295B. This thing's bowl looked a lot like the 495, but the difference is that the 295 was entirely cable controlled. 24 cubic yards struck and 31 cubic yards heaped like it's nothing. The kicker? The International Harvester wanted more. They redesigned the cable control system and came up with 2 distinct looking bowl assemblies, and the heap capacity was increased to 34 cubic yards. Now, the 295B had more horsepower because of the aftercool the DT817 engine provided, along with a 6-speed Allison or 11-speed twin-disc power shift transmission. As for the wear and tear that operators often complained about in the original model, not to worry anymore. A complete makeover was given, which was inspired by Euclid's follow-up system. International went crazy with power and introduced the E295 with 32 cubic yards of capacity. Unfortunately, this model's lifespan was just 3.5 years. The 295 fought long and hard against champions like the Caterpillar 631 and Euclid S24. The 295B put in its blood, sweat, and tears until 1974 when the 95 series was officially discontinued. That's all for this video on old heavy machinery. Thanks for watching. Make sure to comment down what you think are your favorite models, hit that thumbs up button, and subscribe for more.